Let's see. Yay, we are getting started. All right, all the tech things. There we go. Okay. I think I can now see all the places that everybody might be. and we can get started here. If you are joining me on Facebook, welcome. And I'm so delighted to have you here. Please throw something in the comments, say hi. I'd love to know if you are getting this feed okay, and if I'm actually getting your comments. That always helps make sure I don't have any glitches. So that's helpful. But welcome. I am excited to share this new information with you. The Lord has just downloaded a whole ton of new, it's not new. There's nothing new under the sun. I want to say it's new material. It's new ideas, but really it's not. It has come from just a, it's old truths that we are bringing up to date and saying, hey, this still applies. These principles are still valuable to you. And so I'm super excited to bring this. Oh, hi, Jenna. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for responding. Okay, so we are good. And I hope other people are going to be joining, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today is day number 1. Are you excited? We are talking today about why you don't already have the relationship that you want. So I want to really honor your time and make sure that we get through this as quickly as possible, but please don't hesitate to throw questions in here, and I will do my best to answer questions at the end of the live stream. Okay. If there's a tech glitch or something like that, go ahead. I'll try to check on that, but definitely let me know if you have questions. So, hey, Joan. Hey, Abigail. Nice to have you. Thanks for joining. Okay, let's get started. Why you don't have the relationship you want already. As we begin, we have to start from a prep, like, let's just build some foundation here. So I encourage you, as we're going through this material, to come prepared to take action. You know, it's not actually going to benefit you at all if you aren't interested in really taking down what we're saying, as what I'm saying, as well as taking some action steps. So every single evening, I'll be giving you a little assignment sheet. Hopefully, if you're signed up for the emails, you're getting the assignment sheet, right? Now, you'll probably want to take way more notes than what's on this page, but this will give you just some places to write the key bullet points, okay? So if you aren't getting this, the way to get that is to grab the sign up in one of the other posts for the emails, and those will come to you and you'll get it tomorrow. All right. Okay. So the reason many people fail to achieve their goals is because they have not committed to defending a time in which they will work on them. So I just want to honor you, say thank you very much to you for taking the time and really honoring the desire to work on your relationships and your family. And I encourage you, as you're going through this material, to be a little open-minded about this and really think about what you're wanting and what could be possible for you and your family, whatever relationship you're here to work on. A lot of people, it might be your parent and a kid relationship. Like, I'm just not really connecting with them. Some of you might be trying to work on a marriage relationship. That's really important. Others of you might have other relationships that are challenging, that you're finding challenging. I know before I've worked with clients who are trying to get along with older parents, right? Or maybe it's a coworker situation, or there's all these different relationships. So while a lot of the time my priority is around family and parents with children, the truth is the stuff we're going to give you tonight is going to help with any relationship. But we usually come with a little level of skepticism, like, I'm pretty sure I've read all the books, and I'm pretty sure, like, and if you come with the idea that I already know it all, guess what it's going to do? It's going to shut your brain down, and you're going to be like, closed to learning something new. So I just invite you to just take your skepticism out and put it on a shelf. I might say some different things that, or use some ideas in a different way tonight that maybe you haven't considered that way. And look, you don't have to agree with me. That's okay. I'm just inviting you to be curious about it and say, this is interesting. Let's consider this. And I am a big fan of lining it all up against the Word of God. And so if I share something with you and you feel like that it doesn't line up with the Word of God, I hope that you take it and throw it out the window. Okay. So but let's do that check. Okay. Let's get curious about it and say, does it line up or not? So we're going to be a little bit more open, put our skepticism on the shelf. You're coming ready to work. And so the first thing before we get into all of this is I want to talk about how not to do a family makeover. So one way to not do it is, like, we're not just physically, like, you will be a different person, right? Parents often start with, when we want to do something different for our family and it's coming from a place of frustration, a lot of times we jump in and we say, okay, new rules, right? Drastic rule changes and limiting privileges, and like, we're really coming down hard on curfews again, or no more screen time, those kinds of things. And as a result, what's really happening is that we're not actually making over the relationship. We're just creating new control measures. We're just creating an environment of control. And that's not actually what we're looking for if we're looking for a closer relationship. Just cracking down on control often builds resentment. People revolt against that, get defensive, even if it's control that is well intended, even if you are in a position where you have the right, so to speak, to be in charge. If we're coming from the place of, my desire is to, like, be in charge, be control, really rein it in, those kinds of ideas, then it can end up being divisive, and that's not what we want. So how do we set the reset button for connecting with the people in our life? That's the question that we want to ask. So first is the dictatorship, kind of like what I've talked about. It focuses heavily on obedience and restriction and authority and ultimatums, like, I'm not gonna unless you da 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 da, right? That never helps anybody. That's disastrous, because actually what we're insisting in that moment is that other people change. We're insisting that in order to have something new, you have to change, and I'm going to make you do it. That's not actually relationship, is it? If you're a parent, what it creates is little bitty rebels or little bitty rule followers. And I guarantee you, while one looks like they're a disaster right now, the little rule follower will be a disaster later. That's how that happens. It's not really the relationship that you're cultivating. It's not what we want. It's not a true makeover. So there's another option that we could try. We could try self-expression, right? And which focuses heavy on things like individualism and letting their emotions out and expressing their feelings. And my personal desires are the most important. The primary change in that area looks like we're just deciding that the status quo is fine, and we're just going to validate everybody's choices. Let's validate everybody's choices. Everything's fine. We're going to feel good about staying right where we are because everybody has little needs and things like that, right? So what happens is the results are actually even worse in that situation. It creates chaos. It creates anxiety for people because there's no structure, no boundaries that are dependable. Like you can't count on anything. It creates confusion. It creates a long-term inability to remain committed during difficult circumstances because you don't know what you can trust to stay steady in that moment. So we don't like that either. We don't like the dictatorship. We don't like going towards the self-expression. What is the answer? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Okay. So tonight, I want to talk specifically about where do we see people getting other people to do what they want them to do, but because they want to. In other words, how do you get other people to come your direction by themselves? How do you get them to want it? So I started looking at what are other ways, other influencers or other people in the world present things so that people want what they have. And how can I apply that to my parenting? How can I apply that to my marriage? How can I apply that to getting along with my friend down the street? You know, different situations like that. Because I don't want to be in a position of having to, I don't like, it doesn't work anyway. I don't want to force, like, you have to do it this direction. We want people to want the relationship, right? So all of this material is going to come from when I was a child. It starts way long time ago. And I was destined to deal with some of this stuff and these connections because as I was growing up, my dad was a project manager. And he would go into a company and he would get hired in and he would be in charge of helping the company get along with each other. And then he would go to a different company and he wouldn't necessarily have to know a whole lot about the company to know how to manage the project, how to manage the people, how to interact. So he trained his kids. There are 8 of us. I'm the oldest of 8. He trained his 8 kids how to be project managers. So he's got all these little project managers running around now. And we all, to one degree or another, operate our families this way. And it has been revolutionary. And so my first key idea here that I want to share with you is that you're actually in a business. What business are you in? You are in the relationship management business, okay? You're in the relationship management business. You're not in I am a mom trying to control my kids and show them how to become obedient little children. You're not in a situation where it's like we're married and we're doing our own thing. No, we're in the relationship management business. And when you can realize that you are a team with the people around you, whether you realize it or not, and that you are running a business has a purpose, a business has a plan, a business has a focus and like what we're going towards, and we're doing it together and cohesively, we work together to reach a common goal. So in the relationship management business, what are we doing? We are working on how to learn to interact with each other in ways where everybody at the end feels the unconditional love of Jesus. You know, in Matthew 22, verses 37 through 40, it says, and he said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments depend all the law and the prophets. So we have 2 primary objectives. One, to love God. one to love our neighbor. In fact, I love the quote by Francis Chan, that says, do you know that nothing else matters if it isn't about loving God and the people that he made? So if you aren't in the relationship management business and you are a believer, I'm here to tell you you're in the wrong business. So you can have a couple of different businesses going on at the same time, right? You can be in the relationship management business and have a job, or have a family you're trying to raise, or figuring out how to fix the house, or all kinds of different things. But primarily, we're in this. And as a result, all kinds of business concepts apply to relationships. In fact, not only do they apply, but businesses have spent, do you realize businesses have spent in the United States $250 billion. That's B, like with a B, $250 billion in marketing research, in marketing and research just last year. What? Just last year. Why? Because they value the relationships that they are building, because the relationship in a business with the customer or with the client is so critical that they will spend crazy amounts of money to figure out, how do we get them to want what we have? How do we get them to stay with us? How do we get them to recommend us to others? How do we get them to even see us or pay attention to what we're saying? All these different things, they are paying gobs of money to figure these things out. And guess what they did? They went and looked at what works in relationships. What works in relationships, what works in valuable relationships, and they pulled them in and they applied them to their business, and they're like, oh, it works. And here we are in relationships, and we've kind of like, we let things dissipate. We let these skills kind of go. And guess what? They're over here working in the business world, and we've forgotten them in our families. So I'm going to come from kind of a businessy place this week. You may notice that in some of the days that we've talked about already, like the day 2 is the top 2 marketing secrets for relationship or family success. So we're going to come from this business perspective. And as a result, we're going to first start with kind of a survey to see, are you in trouble? Because that's what businesses do. They analyze, like, how are we doing over here? So we're going to do 2 things tonight. We're going to do a kind of, are you in trouble? And then a relationship checkup. This is one extreme and this is the other. And so we want to kind of evaluate what's going on. Okay. So are you in trouble? 6 ways to tell if a business is in trouble. All right. Here's 6 ways. And this comes from the actual business world, but we're going to apply it to our families. So first of all, number 1 is fleeing. Do you have people fleeing? Okay. Running away. I'm going to tell you, I can tell my parents a little bit. I know they won't care. I started running away from home when I was 7 or 8. There's some discrepancy about what age I was. One of those ages. I didn't want to be there. I packed my little suitcase and I stuffed my piggy bank in it, and it was fall, I think, and I packed all my summer clothes, like totally irrational. And long story short, put it in my little red wagon and trotted it down the road. I didn't want to be there. Do you have people fleeing? Are they escaping you? And it doesn't necessarily have to just mean I'm running away from you, like a kid running away from home. It can be like avoiding. Are they disengaged? Are they seeking constant isolation? Are they really wanting to avoid family dinner? Are they do they not particularly want to go on the family vacation? Or maybe they just don't want to spend time together. Maybe they're looking for, you know, I'm going to spend time, I'm going to stay in my room. I'm going to stay in my room, you stay over there, and we'll be good, right? We just like opposite sides of the house. So that would look like fleeing. Number 2, redundancy. Redundancy. Redundant. I can't spell when I'm thinking like this. I can spell fine most of the time. Then I get on a live and I'm like, I can spell nothing. Redundancy. So I called my daughter to the living room one day. Actually, it wasn't just her. It was all the kids. I called all the kids into the living room and I said, hey, this place is a mess. And before I could get the words out, she was over there saying, this place is a mess. So I want you all to clean up for 30 minutes and just focus on this level of the house. And she had her little hand motions. She's like, this place is a mess. And so I want you to clean up for 30 minutes and just focus on this level of the house. And she had these little hand motions. And it was the funniest thing. You know why? Because the words continued coming out of my mouth and they were all the same words she just had used. Like we were saying them simultaneously. And I'm watching her mock me ahead of me as I'm telling her what we're about to do. Redundancy. Have you said it the same way so many times that people have like shut you off? Or are they redundant? Like we're just working on projects that don't matter. Are we doing things just because we've been doing them the same way over and over again and we're sick of it? Or are they traditions just because we've always had that tradition, but actually nobody likes it? Do we actually keep our promises and our commitments? Do we delay our deadlines or dismiss them? Do we have good communication or on like projects around the house, or do they fall on the wayside where we just sort of like, no, and I'm just going to keep doing this over here so I look busy, but I'm not actually doing anything useful. You've seen that at workplaces. You've seen people be redundant and repetitive just to avoid doing something different. I know you have. And because it happens all the time. People are like, I don't want to do more work that's different. Let me go over here and look busy, right? But we can end up doing that in our family too. So redundancy, that's number 2. Number 3, denial. Denial. And I am not talking about that place in Egypt. Denial. Okay. In a business, that looks like the management team is in denial. They are like, we'll get through this. We're going to work through it. It's not as big a problem as everybody's making it out to be. I don't like, y'all just go back. Just go do your thing. We don't have to make a big deal out of this. Denial. Okay. So this is that classic statement of, it's been attributed to a number of different people, Einstein included, of what is it, that you do the same things the same way, hoping that different results appear or that you get new results. This idea of insanity. That's what denial is. It's like, I'm not going to look at this and somehow it'll probably just get better. Right? I don't think we have to be that drastic. Or another way we get into denial is, I can't really do anything about him, so I'm stuck. That's denial. That involves things like, I, in my relationship management business, have my hands tied because somebody else needs to change. And that's just a lie. And I'll show you that later. All right. So who can we change? Us. And what does it take? It takes doing something a little drastic. Okay. A little drastic. Let me show you a little analogy, because if you do any work with me at all ever, eventually I'm going to pull this one out. I do it so many times, but it's like this. You've got a piece of paper and it's folded over, and you're like, I want the paper to stand up. Why doesn't the paper stand up? Can you stop? It's got a crease in it. It's bent this direction. Can you please stand up? No, it won't, right? If you bend the paper the other way so that it creases both ways, the paper stands up. You're like, finally, it's going the way it's supposed to go. Now, that's what happens when we have habits that we don't like, whether it's or traditions or culture or conflicts, just repetitive things. When we've got sort of a habit of this is how we interact together. All right, it looks like this. And we keep like, we don't have to be super drastic. I'm just asking him to do this. I'm just wanting her to, like, I'm not trying to get her way over here. No big deal. And we keep trying to do, like, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? Why are you annoyed at me yet? Okay. So there is a necessary time for some sort of drastic action to be taken so that we get back to the center, right? So that we get back to the center. That's what we're trying to do. We're not saying you got to stay over here in crazy land, but it might take some of that. It's going to feel a little bit crazy at first in order to be able to get to the relationship that you want. All right. So that's denial. All right. Number 4 is very similar. Dismissal. Dismissal. I think of this one around like the whole idea of cancel culture right now, which I will not get off on a tangent, but the idea that any idea that doesn't fit with my current construct, I'm not even going to consider it. I'm just throwing it out. Now, let me explain that what I mean by that does not, like, I'm not talking about things that line up with absolute truth. If you, and testing it against absolute truth is not dismissal. It's like taking this, how does this line up against the Bible? If it's in alignment with it, then I keep it. If it isn't in alignment, then I'm going to put it over here. All right. But a lot of times we're talking about things that it's not a biblical right and wrong kind of thing. A lot of times what we're talking about are new ideas or a different way of loading the dishwasher or where they drop their shoes when they come in the house, or whether or not they are capable of throwing away food in the refrigerator that is old, or how much laundry they stuff in the washer, or whether or not it's okay to wash the colored things with the white things, or they have to be separate. Look, all these little things we try to get along with, and a lot of times what happens is we just don't want to, the change is stressful. We don't like doing it a different way. And so we're like, I'm not that bad off. Nah, it won't work. It's too involved. Nope. It costs too much money. I'm already too busy. And we just like brush it off before we've even considered that maybe the person bringing the thing to our attention has a point. Like, they bring it to our attention for a reason. It's not just a nutsy case. And so if we're in the mindset of that's ridiculous, we've missed the person. We've missed the person when that's our initial response, because people are not idiots on purpose. People aren't idiots at all. We feel like they're idiots sometimes, but they don't say things that seem to us to be idiocy on purpose. Okay. when we perceive something as being stupid, it's because we don't fully understand the reason behind what they're trying to do differently. We haven't been curious enough. So dismissal, if we see a lot of dismissal in the relationship, we're in trouble. Okay. Number 5, negative focus. Negative focus. All right, doing okay on time. So if the relationship managers in the relationship management business are primarily focused on the negative, then we're in trouble. If we're only focused on how it isn't working, on how they always do it wrong, or how they never do this, or how once again we've had this problem, or it's just the way he is, it's probably not going to change, or it's just the way she is, it's probably not going to change. Can you believe we are going around this circle again? I don't like this. Look at just over and if we're in a negative focus, we're in trouble. Because we're in the relationship management business, and staying in a negative spot, you've been in a business where everybody's critical. I know that most of you know what it feels like to be in a situation where everybody's just like, well, I don't like the way this is. And he does that wrong. And gossip, gripe, whine. And it's like, please, can I go home? Please, can I go home? Or just anywhere but here. Like, it's miserable. It's miserable. So are the words coming out of your mouth as a manager in the relationship management business negative on a regular basis? I'm not saying there's not a time to address problems, but like, is your whole focus on everything that the other person is doing wrong? That's the question. Okay. Next is, a company or a business is in trouble if they got no stats. No stats, no statistics. If a company doesn't run any metrics, how do they know if they're succeeding? They don't. They don't know if they're succeeding or why they're succeeding. They don't know. They don't have any. It's just like, we just throw out a bunch of trial balloons and see which ones land. Like, that's not a way to run a business. You go bankrupt really fast, right? No, you want to get feedback. You want to gain, like, what's working? What are they buying? What do they want? And evaluate that through some sort of statistical process or feedback from other people. And then you know how to improve, right? But a lot of families don't do that. They don't have times where they invite feedback from other people. So how do you know it's working? You can't. It's just chance or luck, or it may be an accurate assumption, but a lot of times it can be a faulty assumption. So this is the place where no one is evaluating whether the relationship is actually working or why it is or isn't working. We're just responding. We make up why we think it isn't working and we respond. And can I tell you, after working with hundreds of clients, most of us do not assume correctly about why people aren't responding or why they're doing the things that they're doing. It's one of the biggest issues, is that we assume or we think we know what's going on, and we don't ask and we don't listen to other people about why it's going on. So this is way down here. Like, are you in trouble? All right. This is the bottom of the barrel. So we're going to flip over and do the other side. All right. How do you know if it's really successful? Okay. That's what we're going to talk about now. 7 ways to know if you're successful in business. And I'm going to go over these here, but I want you to really spend some time on this. And so this is going to be your assignment for this evening. I want you to go through these next 7 and evaluate. I've given you kind of a 5-star review on the side of your worksheet. So you can give yourself a 1-star, or you can give yourself a 5-star, or anywhere in between on how you think you're doing on your relationship checkup. And I'll move this up in just a second so you can see it. So these are the 7 ways to know if you're still in good relationship management business. All right. I'll move it up so you can see it. Okay, can we get up? Yep, we got them all. Okay, sweet. There. That did all right. All right. So these words are a little bit smaller, but I think you'll be able to, I'll try to write the fill in the blanks really big. Okay. You should have these on your worksheet. Okay. Number 1, how do you know if your business, your relationship management business is successful? Your business still operates successfully while you're on vacation. Your business still operates successfully while on vacation. I will never forget when my kids were little, and there's a couple of people watching. I don't know if they remember this. A couple of people know this story, but I would, when my kids were little, and just so you know, I mean, a lot of you know who I am, but I have 7 children. My oldest is 20, my youngest is 10. My husband, Brandon, and I had them in 10 years. And so there was a point in time when I had a 10-year-old and 7 little people. All right. So we would, by some miracle, get everything pulled together to go on a family vacation. And I would be super excited. We would get in the car. It would be a long drive because we lived in New Hampshire. We were driving to visit family in Georgia. So really long car ride. And I wanted it to be fun. And so I would plan activities and snacks and drinks. And the first few times that we did this trip, I thought it would be super fun for them to get juice in the car, juice or Gatorade or Capri Suns or Yum, right? Except my kids never drank anything but water at home. So guess what? We'd get in the car. And because I had drastically changed what we were doing on vacation, more than one time, I would, long before we got to Georgia, I would have puking children in the vehicle. This happened more than one time. In fact, we finally figured out what was going on. I thought they had just gotten a stomach virus, but then when it kept happening, that it was only when they would just get a lot of juice to drink, I realized they just weren't used to having the quantity of sugar in a short period of time. And it was making them sick. And so their stomachs were just like, nope. And they puke it all back up. And so I got to where I was pretty vigilant about, no, vacations work best when we can keep a lot of things the same as they are at home. And so if you're still a parent and you're on vacation, or your spouse and you're a married couple and you're on vacation, does the family or parenting style or the relationship style have to change drastically during the vacation versus how you interact at home, either to make the vacation time work or because things at home are not working in such a way that you have to take a vacation to manage it? Does that make sense? This idea of I've got to get away to fix things because we aren't at a steady, like, this works all the time. I remember the day when, pretty recently, because we've been in this house for about 3 years, and I remember that there was a day when I realized that our daily life was life-giving enough that I didn't feel the need to get away to reconnect or to recharge or to rejuvenate, that actually my regular life was recharging and rejuvenating and effective enough at that I didn't need to come away to help my kids reconnect. Now, we definitely still go on vacations, like that's fun, adventures, but it's for like, it's not to go troubleshoot or like it's disaster relief, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not the purpose. So, and I just like, it's possible to have relationships that are like that. Like, you know what, where are we going? Actually, nowhere. We like being at home in our daily routine. When we got married, my husband, I'm totally off track, but when we got married, I would ask Brandon, where do you want to go? He was like, vacation for me is just like a week of steady at home. And I was like, I don't even know what? No, that's terrible. Well, he's won me over. Does your business still operate successfully while on vacation? Now that can also include like while you're away from the house, does everything else blow up? Are we honest with each other? Are we putting each other down? Do you end up having fights on the phone if you're in separate locations? Or are we able to maintain successful relationships when we quote take time off? That'd be a good question to evaluate, to really think about. All right, number 2. The second way to show if a business is successful is you show up on the first page of search results. So you show up on the first page of results. Now, most of you know what this means. Like, are you on the first page of Google? Like, does your business, when somebody types something in, does it show up on that first page? That's what they're talking about, right? But how does this relate to our family and our family relationships? Well, are you the first person that the other person comes to with a question? Like if you're a parent, does your child seek you out first if they have a question, or do they go to other people? It's just a checkup. Like that could be a place to look at. Or if your spouse has a need, are you the first person that they come to, or do they go to other friends? When was the last time that somebody came to you with a serious need? Or something that they were really vulnerable about and weren't sure how you were going to answer? Do they feel safe coming to you and talking to you about that? Or if they come to you and talk to you about that, is it going to be used against them later? And so they're a little hesitant, right? The truth is, our questions, other people, they have questions all the time. My adult children have questions all the time. Do they like the experience they have with you? Or is it like, oh, I gotta go talk to mom, or I gotta go talk to my husband? Right? That's the question to ask. Would they give you a 5-star review on this question? That's really the determination. Are you top of mind to consult with, or are you several pages down the options? So the day I knew that I was on the first page of results with my son Jefferson was when he walked in the house. Let's see, how old was he? He was 13. He was 13. And he comes in the house and he says, "Hey mom, I need you to take me to the store." And he was so confident, like no worries at all. He's like, "I need you to take me to the store. I'm going to need some large PVC pipe and a grill igniter and several cans of Lysol." And I was like, "What are you doing?" What? Like, we homeschool, I get it, projects, but I'm thinking he's building a bomb. I'm not taking her to the hardware store to build a bomb. Now that's what I'm thinking on the inside, right? But what I say on the outside is, you're going to have to give me a lot more information about what's going on here before I'm going to say yes to whether or not we're going to the store or not. Turns out later, the short end of that story is that he had an older friend that was showing him how to build a potato gun. And he wanted to do it. He wanted to use it for his science fair project. And it ended up being great. It was fantastic. But I was like, if he's willing to come up and ask me if he can purchase explosive items without a hitch, I think we're doing okay. So are you showing up on the first page of search results? That's the question. Okay, number 3. Is this going well for you guys? Are you tracking? Is this helpful? Let me know if like, drop some comments or questions if you have them. Like, I want to be serving you. My heart is to really help you with your relationships. So cool. Okay, good. So number 3 is you change your customer's life. You change your customer's life. Now, if you are listening to this and you have lots of little kids, or even one little kid, just postpone this question for a while, because I'm not sure that, you can get little bits of ways to evaluate whether or not you're changing their lives. Like, you're changing their diapers. So that's a life-changing experience every time it happens. Good. Okay. But when they get older, you want to look for, is this impacting them in positive ways? Am I helping them in areas that they need help in? Am I getting that feedback? Am I looking for it? One of my favorite moments for evaluating this, and y'all, I just have to say, I never thought this would happen, but one of my kids, I'm going to let this story be like anonymous, but one of my kids, I'll call it a he, she, yeah, he, because there's 5 boys and 2 girls. So there we go. We had a conversation one time and he was annoyed at me, and because I was trying to coach him. I was trying to coach him around something and he didn't want to help. And he was like, Mom, this coaching stuff isn't for everybody. Like, meaning it's not great for me. Like, this is not helpful. And so that was his response. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure it's for everybody, but whatever, dude. Like, and so we hit that spot where he had some resistance around that. And then not too many months later, he came back to me and he said, I got a friend that I'm not really sure how to help. I was talking to them and realized that they were in kind of a rough place and that they were feeling pretty discouraged. And so I asked them some questions. I realized that the questions that I was asking were like coachy questions. I realized they were questions that you've asked me all my life. And so I'm wondering, do you have any more? I was like, oh, I changed my customer's life. I changed his life. All of a sudden he's like, the benefit is there and he sees it and he's like, and not only do I see it, but I want more of it because it's impacting me in a positive way. And that is the relationship that I'm looking for. Like, oh man. And so what I do is that moment, I capture it like a picture, like I'm going to like take a picture of that moment. And then I'm going to put it over here in the evidence room. Because here's what happens. There's going to be another time when he's like, yeah, never mind. All that stuff totally sucks. And I have nothing to do with it. And I'm going to be like, I'm holding on to my evidence that I'm changing his life. And so we're willing to go through some of that rougher water in order to change his life. I'm willing to ride out some storms because I've got some like solid evidence that this is helpful, right? So are you changing your customer's life in your relationship management business? How are you impacting them? For the better, preferably. I mean, we all change everybody's life. That's the truth. Everybody's lives is changed every time they come in contact with us. We have some sort of impact on every single person we meet. And it's either in a direction that brings God glory or it isn't. That's the truth. But it doesn't have to be a negative truth. It can be a super positive truth. That when you learn these strategies and you get this into your life and you realize that something new can be different, and you can say, by faith, I am operating in a place where every person that I come in contact is transformed by God in a meaningful way and gives him glory. Like every single time I come, I have that kind of impact. That's what we are. We're called to be Jesus to other people. Do you think there's a single person that Jesus came into their life and he had no impact, no positive impact? Only if they chose something different, or they made up a belief about how it was negative. But the truth of the matter is, anybody who encountered Jesus had their lives transformed. We have that. We have him as believers. We have Jesus in us, and we have the capacity to have transformation happen with every single other person that encounters us, to the glory of God, to give him glory, not because we're so great, because he's so great. That's the point. Are you in the relationship management business? All right, moving on. This one's gonna go over a little bit. All right. Number 4, clients seek you out and even refer you to others. Are you positioning yourself? Oh, wait, I can't write and talk at the same time. Sorry. Clients seek you out and even refer you to others. Are you positioning yourself as available, accessible, somebody that's willing to contribute? I guarantee if you're doing that with your family is going to be like, oh my goodness, they are so willing to be accessible that there's other people that they can help. My son came home, he's like, I told my friend that he could call you. It's like, sure. Because there's nothing else that matters besides loving God and the people he has made. Nothing. Not the job, not the money, not the house, not the car, not the sports team. None of it. None of it matters if it's not loving God and the people he's made. So do we have evidence that they're recommending us? I was thinking of another situation for younger kids. Like, there's a little kid that lives down the street from us, and he came over to play with my youngest son, Justin, and he had a great time. And then he came over another day, and he came over another day, and then it was like, so what snacks do you have? He's like, he just came over. He's like, what snacks do you have today? I wonder, like, I know Justin isn't available. Can I play at your house anyway? Because I just kind of want to be like, I just kind of want to be here and eat your food and play in your yard. Is that okay? And whether Justin's here or not, I just feel comfortable here. Like, okay, sure. Have fun. But it's another way that he kind of like, oh, we're being referred by others. Like Justin was a friend to him, made him feel welcome. Now here he is. He just wants to be a part of it. Number 5, you are not alone. You are not alone. Now, in business, this looks like a good support system. Like, do you have mentors? Do you have other businesses that are in similar situations so that you can collaborate with them? Do you have people further along than you in business so that you can see what they're doing and the results that they have and glean their wisdom? And do you have anybody behind you that you're bringing along to help them grow? It's a multi-tiered support, right? I'm not talking about, don't confuse this with just multi-level marketing, like, oh, you've got an upline and a downline. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay. But most people who succeed in business are looking out there, who already has the results that I want, or who has had those results. I'm going to network with them, right? In business, we call it networking. In relationships, we call it going out to coffee with the old lady. That's what we call it, okay? Or going fishing or hunting with the old man to find out, how did he love his wife well? How did she raise her kids, right? Those people ahead of us. Do you have somebody ahead of you? And it doesn't have to be age, just like experience, or they have the results that you want. It's not just about an older person. It's about the person ahead of you. We associate them as ahead because they already have the results that we want. And so we're like, I'm going to go network with that person over coffee, right? Okay. So ahead of us, behind us, meaning, are we mentoring somebody? This is critical to the relationship management business, is that you have somebody that you're mentoring. It's critical in business because if you don't bring somebody else along, your business dies when you do. Doesn't it? It's like you can sell it to somebody else, or you can raise up somebody else to do it for you, like in your stead, when you can no longer do it. But you're always mentoring people. And I love the model of like, so I had 7 kids. So I had a midwife that attended all of my births. I had 6 of my kids at home in New Hampshire, where, well, we won't get into that, but it's very easy, very safe way to have children. But she would regularly have somebody studying with her because she knew it was valuable and critical to the next generation that those people be trained up, and they've got to have somebody teaching the new midwives how to deliver babies. And so she always had somebody behind her helping her out. So that person coming along behind. And the thing is, it's not just about helping somebody else. It's about the accountability that it gives you. Because don't you know that when somebody else is watching, we sit up a little straighter, comb our hair a little bit better. We don't yell at our kid quite as loudly, right? You know, the classic, like, Justin, stop jumping on the couch. Phone rings. Hi, how are you today? Like, total shift, right? Because when we're in front of other people, we put a best foot forward. I was so much more faithful teaching my kids school when I had other kids that I had to teach school. I took care of somebody else's 3 children while they were at the hospital at one point, and for 8 weeks. I didn't keep them in my house, but they were homeschooled as well. And they just came to my house and participated in our homeschool. And we just did it all together. Oh my goodness. School happened every day, every day, all the subjects. And I was a super cheerful teacher the whole time. Why? Because I had other people there. Like, And we can look at that as like, so do you not really care that much about your kids? No, I do. I know, and I have learned that I care so much about my kids that I know that I am a better parent when I have other people that I am also discipling. So I directed our classical conversations group. I run one of the classes there. Partly because it makes me a better teacher. It makes me a better parent. If I'm having to hold other people to the line, I hold my kids to that line. It's better accountability for me. So when you mentor somebody else, especially in relationship stuff, like, do you have somebody else that you're like training them up? Like maybe it's one of your kids, or maybe it's excuse me, my phone battery's dying, and that's how I keep track of everybody on Facebook. Come on. All right, we'll see if that works. Okay, so this idea of bringing somebody along behind keeps us accountable. It pushes us to a higher level. Doesn't mean we have to be perfect, but we're leading someone else. It gives us purpose, and it feels super rewarding. So you want the person ahead of you, and you want the person behind you, and then you want those people in the middle. They're the ones that you relate to, that you can connect with, and like, hey, we're all in the same boat together, right? And that's important too. So do you know that you're not alone? Do you have your people that you know that you can count on to help you forward, to relate to you right now, and that you're bringing along behind? Number six, you bounce back. You bounce back. Usually, businesses that bounce back have a couple of things. One, they have really good systems in place to be able to adjust during difficult circumstances. If you've got some sort of plan, it allows you to be able to be flexible, right? You also usually have a high level of communication and creativity that's welcome, because when you, in a business, when you encounter a difficult situation, you need people to brainstorm and throw ideas around. And if people don't feel safe to brainstorm and be creative and get it a little bit messy, then it shuts down their creative processes. And so you don't get good ideas. So a business that really bounces back has a high level of creativity going on and a high level of communication and a lot of systems. So translating that to families, like, do you have dependable ways of communication that you can talk about hard things, even during times where everything's going okay? When you develop systems and patterns, and it gives you something that you can flex, it can take a hit and keep on kicking, right? Take a licking and keep on kicking. I think that's the phrase. Yeah. I thought of a family that lives near us that at the beginning of COVID, they also found out that their daughter had a really serious disease, and all kind of at the same time. Right. She found out right before COVID hit, and everything kind of went down. And so it was incredibly difficult circumstances and lots of intense needs, right? And a lot of frustration, because if you experience, so if you're a cancer patient, if you're a child and you're a cancer patient, a lot of times there's all these different cool things that are available to you. Well, COVID comes down. Nope, no cool things. We're not allowing any cool things. And that's what happened. Like that was really tough. It was a tough situation, even with a difficult, like it would have been difficult under normal circumstances. And so it was exacerbated. Of course, there's other siblings that also needed attention at the same time. It wasn't just this one person that was sick. There were other people that needed to have their lives paid attention to, school and And how are they feeling about all of this? And then there's the parents that are like trying to figure out how to make it work. And is it okay? And is she going to make it? And I don't know. And what, and is it okay to even think about that? Or how do I mean, just, if you've ever been through something tragic, like somebody getting seriously ill, which most of us have at this point, all the questions that go through your mind. It's so messy. And yet I've watched this family. They have taken their communication and they have come together. And when the opposition comes, instead of allowing it to pull away from each other, they lean in. They lean in. I know you're having a hard time and I know it's not about me. And I pull in. Let me know you better. Let me come around side you closer. Let me give a little bit more where you're in this difficult situation. And I just want to say it's such an honor to watch that family go through this situation, because they're doing it with such grace for each other. Are they okay? Are you okay when somebody's like has a terrible disease? Like right now she's okay. She's okay. She's getting treatment and things like that. But are you okay? A lot of us would say, no, I'm not okay. It's not okay. And in those moments, can we bounce back? Can we recover? Can we still address the needs of everyone? Can we still fight for each other rather than against each other? Those are keys to bouncing back, right? In our relationships. All right, number 7. We are almost done, I promise. So number 7 is others take notice. Others take notice. Now, this can look like just a good, arrogant pride trip, right? Like, oh yeah, pay attention to me. My life is great. And I've got it all together and figured out my relationships and my family is beautiful. That's not what I'm talking about here. Okay. A business thrives because others take notice. Other businesses look and see, what are they doing? Customers take notice and they're like, what are they doing over there? I want what they want, what they've got. Employees are like, hey, they treat their people amazing. I'm going to go work for them, right? It's a good evaluation tool of how we're doing, that others take notice. And it's biblical too. If you don't believe me, in Matthew, it talks about you are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it gives light to all that are in the house, right? There's a couple of different aspects. I won't go down this rabbit trail very far, but there's a couple of different aspects about that light that we're called to be. On one hand, the light stands for truth, and like we're called to be a beacon of truth out to other people and dispel the darkness, right? But that's actually I think it's a secondary application of what it's supposed to be. You are the light of the world, a city on a hill. You think about being out in the darkness and you see the light of the city on a hill, and it makes you want to do what? You're going to go. You're going to like, oh, I see the light. I have something to walk towards. I want the light. So part of our job as believers is to operate in such a way that our testimony is evident. And not only evident, but it's something that other people want. It's something that other people take notice and say, whoa, that is different. I like it. I want to know more about what's going on over there. Right? It's like that customer saying, what's that business got for sale? They're doing something right. I want it. The employee saying, oh, What are they doing? I want to be a part of that company. That's our calling in our relationships. So you're in business. Congratulations. You're in the relationship management business. And this is your checkup. Now, as you fill in these 5 stars, I want to talk to you a little. I've got a couple more things and then we're almost done. But as you're evaluating the stars, we're doing this so that you see like, okay, which areas need the most work, right? What do I need to work on the most? And you can give yourself 3 stars and say, okay, I'm doing pretty good. But I have this friend named Ben that I heard this story secondhand, but so it might have inaccuracies about it, but Mr. Benjamin operates a company, and I heard one of his employees talking one time about the fact that he only has 5-star ratings in his company. And a lot of times people are like, that means he's just like hiding the 1 stars or the 2 stars, or he's deleting them, or he's because nobody actually has all 5 stars. Now that may be true. And I've watched a lot of people get some 1-star reviews in businesses that they didn't deserve. But this man is determined to have valuable relationships with his customers and his clients. He's so determined that anytime somebody leaves a 5-star review, anything less than a 5-star review, he will reach out to them, contact that person, find out what it was that the company did to cause anything less than a 5-star review and what they can do to take care of it. What can they do? Where did we not meet the mark? Because we want to over deliver and exceed your expectations of what we are as a company and what you can count on us for. And so what he actually does is he reaches out to those people and he gets their advice, and then he goes and he takes care of it, and then they change their review. They change their review. They're like, yep, he took care of me, changing my evaluation. What if we did that with our families? What if anything less than a 5-star review over here, and we were like, what do I need to do differently? I'm willing to lay it all on the table. How can we make this work? I will not stop working on this until we reach something where both of us are feeling successful, or the family in general is feeling successful. How dedicated are you to the 5-star review? So I'm super excited about where we're about to head. We're just laying the groundwork. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the top 2 marketing secrets that can transform any family dynamic. On day 3, we're going to talk about climbing the invisible ladder of relationship success. And then on Thursday, we're going to do 3 ways not to show up and 6 questions that we need to answer before we're asked. And then day 5, we're going to talk about the top 5 biggest topics that you want to cover to eliminate distance and connection. So we have got so much to go over, so many things to learn. It's going to be amazing. I mean, we're just going to blow your mind here, because it's phenomenal what we can learn from this perspective that maybe you haven't thought of before. But I have a couple of things that I want to encourage you, because here's what's going to happen. If you're really committed to this process, there's some things that can take you out. And I want you to be aware of them so that you can like, I see you coming. You're not getting to me today. Like, not today, Satan. That's what we're going to say. Okay. So here's the 3 things. Okay. 3 things. Number 1, some of you have got a lot going on right now. You're really busy, and I honor your time and thank you for being on a little bit late tonight even. But I want to also acknowledge that you're people that take relationships and working on them really seriously. One client came to me one time and to work on a relationship, and it felt like a huge investment of time and energy and into material, but she stuck with it. And you know what? She discovered that working on the relationship areas, I'm just kind of reading from my notes here, actually increased her available energy and time. Those are like her response. I didn't make that up. No longer was she distracted by ineffective feelings and discussions all the time with other people. Rather, her thoughts and her conversations, the effort that she was making at connection became so productive that it reduced stress and overwhelm in other areas of life. So I want you to recognize that. I get that you're really busy. I hope you continue to make this a priority, because our emotions, when they're really negative, can strip all that energy away, and it can feel like we just don't have any margin. But conversely, if we can work on these things and get and make them over, go through this family makeover, work on these processes, the emotions, you'll get excited. It'll actually increase your energy. You'll have more capacity to do more for others, for yourself. It'll be joyful. All of that is possible. But there's a little bit of trust involved that it's worth adding a little bit more to your schedule right now in order to make that happen. Okay. So that's number one. Watch out for it. It will come. If you aren't watching out for it, it'll come and take you out. Okay. Number two is, some people are like, I really thought about this, and our relationship isn't really that bad. It's not worth all this. We're just, it's just that one thing. And so I want to tell you about another client that came. She said, I'm kind of getting to the end of my rope. Like, it's not a big deal. I just feel like I get to the end of my rope earlier in the day than what I'd like to, or a little too often. This idea of like, I can't quite keep my head above water all the time. It's not a big deal. It's just sometimes kind of sink back in, or it's just this one issue. Like, everything else is fine. It's just this one issue. Like, if my daughter would just quit screaming at me, then everything else is going to be okay. So I get it. I thought everything was okay. Like, I was that person. I thought everything was fine. I'm doing pretty good. It's not that big of a deal. I just kind of got mad a little bit more than what I wanted to. I yelled a little more often than what, and felt kind of guilty about it when my kids were young. But it wasn't really that big of a deal. It's just, that was kind of the only issue. And what I didn't realize was that I was a victim to what's called creeping normality. So the idea of like the frog will boil itself in the pot before it jumps out, which is actually false. Sorry to blow your story there, but it's not real. But creeping normality is, things change so gradually that we tolerate more and more and more of it, until the status quo is something that we never would have tolerated in the first place. Now, it can go in a positive direction, but it can also go in a very negative direction. And that's what happened. Was I got to the place where I was just gradually tolerating more and more. And I just thought it was that one little thing, until I threw my kid across the wall, across the room, at the wall. I just lost it in a rage and chucked him. And he was okay. But at that point, I was at a place where I was like, I have passed the line. I am not okay. Right? So how do we determine where we're going to take action if we are okay and not too bad, but we don't want to cross the I have passed the line? Well, I'll tell you, after learning it the hard way, the time to take action is when you say, it's not so bad. That's the time. It's right then. When it's not so bad, that's the time to take action. That's the place between now, like between like, okay, we're all right, and it's too late, is right now. So don't fall for the trick that I'm okay. It's not really that bad. The most successful marriages, the most successful families, they take action on their relationships and on their situations when it's no big deal. Certainly if it is a big deal, but even when it's no big deal. All right. So be aware that that will come in, that can come in and try to take you out this week while we're working on this stuff. All right. And I don't want it to get you. All right. Number 3 is that comes in pretty often for people when they're working on relationship stuff. That's a really common, I think this one is the most common. All right. Is some of you will be tempted to think, well, I can only improve so much because the other person has to want it too. No, they don't. There's a verse in 1 Peter 3:1, I think. Yeah, 3:1. It says, likewise, wives, be subject to your own husbands, so that even if some do not obey the word, they may be won without a word by the conduct of their wives. Now, I get this is about specifically wives to husbands, but I think the general principle is even more important. That you don't have to force somebody to do something different for them to see that you're changing and want it. A lot of times in my coaching practice, I'll say it only takes one person to change the dance. It only takes one person to change the dance. And be aware that if you've been dancing the same dance with another person or in your family, your whole family dances one dance together. They've just gotten really familiar with how things go. It only takes one person to change the dance. Now, the first thing that happens is you throw everybody off. And they're like, what's happening? We all have our dance steps and you're not doing yours. But you're like, hey, I'm just changing my dance steps a little bit here. And they will see that you're dancing a little bit different dance and it's a little bit better. And they'll be like, huh. And they will either accommodate the dance, or usually in a family relationship, they'll either like accommodate you dancing a weird dance, or they'll learn the dance steps. They'll be like, what do you do? I want to figure out this dance steps. That's usually the way it happens. If we do it in a kind and patient way, that's the way it works. So it just takes one person to choose to do something different. When we do this well, it creates an enticing result that other people are attracted to. Again, like, hey, they want what we have, and we didn't have to force them into it or manipulate them into it. They just want it. So if you're ready to try something new and take 100% responsibility for doing what you can and not worry about the other people, don't try to convince them that they have to show up a different way or they need to do it a certain way. Just be okay with like, this is your decision to grow, your personal decision to grow. And I promise you, if you could only see what's possible, if you jump all the way in, this is how miracles happen. This is how miracles happen. So I encourage you to like show up every single day. You're going to get an email with a worksheet and the link to the training every single day. At the end of the week, there'll be a recording, like the recordings, they'll come to your email. So if you aren't in the email and you're just watching this in the Organizing and Encouraging Parents group, I think Jenna dropped the link earlier in the feed that you can click on to get subscribed to the emails that are going out so that you have all those things. And the last thing I'll say is be sure you do your homework. All right. If you have your little one sheet thing at the bottom of the second page, it says you have an assignment. So you're just supposed to complete this assessment and then take some time to journal down, like, which one area do you think needs the most work and why? And just write down some thoughts about it. Just a few minutes to write down a few thoughts about why that might be the main reason. Okay. So that's your assignment. Let me think if I have anything else that I need to tell you. Oh, just a heads up. Every day we're meeting at 7 p.m. except Wednesday. Wednesday, I actually have a previous class I'm teaching at 7 p.m. Did I say a.m.? I meant p.m. I don't know, 7 p.m. But Wednesdays I have a class, so we're doing it 3 p.m. instead. Okay. So that day will be different, 3 p.m. on Wednesday, but every other day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 7. All right. I think that's it. If you have any questions, this is your chance. That's the end of the presentation though. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for saying yes to working on the relationships with your family. Oh my goodness, this is my passion. I want so badly for you all to see that you can love God and love others well and enjoy it. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be difficult to love other people. It can be a joy. All right. Somebody said, when will the video be available following the live session? So there's 2 ways that that's going to be available. Number 1 is as soon as I get off this live, it'll be like a couple of seconds and you can go back and watch the live Facebook in the Organize and Encouraging Parents group. That one will be almost immediate. And then, but if you're signed up for the emails, I think it's at the end of the week, like once we've done all of them, you'll get an email that will have all the video recordings and all the worksheets all in one link. And you'll be able to go there and access them all. That should work for you. Any other questions? I'm already growing just from this new perspective. Yes, Abby. Oh my goodness. Right? Just, I promise you will pick up a business, like how to run your business book, and you'll be like, oh, you will never look at it the same again. It's just like transforms your life. Anything else? Anybody else got any questions? I don't see any. All right. Hey, thank you for being here. I promise tomorrow is only going to be an hour. I know that because I have an 8 o'clock appointment. So you can count on that being very firm tomorrow. But otherwise, I think that's all. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.